All right, it is 9:05 and I want to respect everybody's time. So we'll go ahead and kick it off first. Happy Tuesday, actually, although it might feel like Monday for some of you with the holiday being yesterday and of course coming off the weekend. Really quickly, any big wins to share over the weekend? I know some of you went under contract. Matt?
Listen, we're not jinxing it yet. We are not jinxing it yet, Lee. Hopefully, I will be going under contract after this show of a weekend, trying to deal with open door brokerage and all of these other things that Lee is well aware of. But yeah, I guess I've learned tons of lessons this weekend, none specific. But yeah, I guess a win would potentially be that I could go under contract today.
So everybody keep your fingers crossed. That would be Matt's first contract with a buyer. So he is super excited. I am super excited, and we're going to make it happen today.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
All right. Well, we do have two guests joining us this morning. We have Cooper Long and Juan Escobar. They are both from AmeriFirst, and they are going to be talking about the possible pitfalls as you go into that your buyers should be aware of as you go into the underwriting process, and what we can do as agents to help our buyers avoid those pitfalls. So, gentlemen, I will leave it up to you whenever you're ready. Take it away.
Perfect. Let me get my screen shared. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for letting us come on today. So for those of you that do not know me, I'm Cooper Long. I'm a loan officer and sales manager with AmeriFirst Home Mortgage. Been doing this for almost 6 years now. With me is my partner, Juan Escobar. He's a phenomenal bilingual loan officer. He's going to, we're going to do this kind of in a two-part presentation. First thing we're going to dig into is kind of the process of a loan. You know, what exactly do we do behind the scenes? And then we're going to dive into those underwriting mistakes. They're kind of going to correlate with each other. All right. So who are we? So AmeriFirst was founded in 1983. We were founded by a guy named Dave Gain and Mark Jones. Those two gentlemen have led this company through multiple economic crises, and have made us be, very strong and powerful foundation that we have here at AmeriFirst. We made it through, the crash of the 2000s, the big 2008 crash. And the reason we were able to do that is because our company does not do bad loans. We only do good loans. We will not do any of the no income, no asset documentation. We never did that when that was what everybody was doing. We were always just providing actual service and wanted to make sure that we were able to have our buyers afford those houses. So we are recognized by the Inc. 5000. We're licensed in 18 states and have 86 branches. We have 700 plus team members, and we are still growing, and we are definitely growing quickly. So we are the #1 USDA lender in Michigan, and all that means is it correlates the knowledge down here to Florida. I don't know if anybody deals with USDA, but it is something that we do specialize in. So our one goal is to help people achieve the dream of home ownerships. And in doing so, we want to help our realtor partners be as successful as they can possibly be by being a lender that we can count on, that they can count on. So the first step to the loan process is the application. This is where we really are going to know the feel for the file. We're going to get to know the buyer. We're going to let you know if they're approved or not. It's going to be the loan application. So during the loan application process, we're going to ask enough information to be able to pull credit report. So we pull the report from all three credit bureaus. That's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. It is going to be a hard pull. If you're ever dealing with a lender and they're doing work up front, or they're giving you a pre-approval and they tell your buyer it's a soft pull, they are not doing their due diligence up front, and you most likely will have underwriting hiccups down the end, at the end of the road. It is very important that we do the hard pull up front so we can see the full credit history of the borrower, because I promise you a hard pull will be done sooner or later on that borrower. We're going to verify their income. We're going to ask them about the source of their income. Are they self-employed? Do they have a job? Are they W-2, 1099? Are they retired, receiving Social Security benefits, child support, alimony, rental, etc.? All of those are items that we ask for and ask at the initial application. And then as well as assets. Do they have cash in the bank? Is it coming from a 401k, withdrawal, investments, gift funds? These are all things that we know and get to know up front. So once we go through that initial application, that initial phone call with them, we're going to send them over a document needs list. That's going to list everything that we need to verify the things that they told us over the phone. We tend to not send out a pre-approval letter until we receive these documents. So for their income, we're going to ask them to provide pay stubs, their W-2s, certain instances, tax returns if they're self-employed, Social Security awards letter, any annuities that they may be drawing from. There's a whole list of documents that we know that we need to ask for upfront to verify. And the next thing is going to be assets. So we're going to look at their most recent bank statements. We're going to get 2 months worth of bank statements. And we're not just going to get that. We're actually going to review the money that is going in and out of those bank statements. So we're going to look for any type of deposit that may be abnormal. It may be large. It may be cash. We're going to be looking for any abnormal withdrawals to banks or things that may not actually be on their credit report, because I promise you the underwriter will find those. We're going to look at their retirement and investment accounts just to make sure that they can liquidate those items so we can make sure we have the funds to close. All right. Once they have that pre-approval letter, that's when we give the go to start house shopping. Fun fact, this is a little USDA map. The highlighted areas are not eligible for USDA financing, with pretty much all of the greater Orlando area. But for any of those agents that service the Claremont area, Truliota, it's definitely a great program for you guys to learn about. All right. So once the contract is received, that's when the clock starts ticking. It's ready for time to move fast. So we get the file ready for processing. If it's been a month since our initial conversation, we're going to collect all of the pay stubs and bank statements again, make sure that there has been nothing that changed. And the loan's going to then move to our loan setup. So this is a team. We have a whole loan setup division where they're going to order the appraisal. Appraisal is going to take between 5 to 10 business days to come back. We're going to contact the title company and order the title request. And we're going to verify, get a verification of employment from their employer and order any type of tax transcripts if needed. All right, so then it's going to move into processing and underwriting. So the loan is going to be reviewed one more time by our loan officer assistant, who is usually a master at guidelines. They know exactly what the underwriters are going to look for, just as much as us, the loan officers, do. So they're going to reach out to the buyer if there's anything that's missing or anything that can make it be a better submission into the underwriting process. I recommend the buyer start shopping for home insurance immediately. It's never fun when we have to wait till the last minute to get homeowners insurance, or the 4-point wasn't ordered, or the wind mitigation wasn't ordered. Strongly recommend, if the house is over 30 years old, please have your buyers order that 4-point inspection. I would say every single insurance carrier is now requiring that. So to make sure that we're doing all that stuff up front, that way we don't have any issues down the road. So once it's in underwriting, the underwriter is going to review very closely all the documents that were submitted. They're going to make sure that the credit, the income, and assets meet agency guidelines. So when we say agency guidelines, we're talking about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA, all the different loan programs that we have. We're going to make sure that whatever loan that they're applying for is going to meet all of those conditions. So once the underwriter does that on the initial credit, on the initial check, they're going to have what's called a conditional approval. That means that there's going to be a couple of conditions that are subject to meet for us to enter the clear to close. So once we get those conditions, our loan is now clear to close. So once the loan's clear to close, it's going to move into our closing department, where our closing disclosure is going to be sent. And for those of you that don't know about TRID, I hope everyone does, but there is no way around this. The closing disclosure has to be sent within 3 days prior to the closing date. That's 3 business days. There's no exceptions to that. If that is not met, the closing has to be pushed. That's something that is new since 2016. Once we have that, the closing department is going to start balancing with the title company and start coming up with the final figures. Once we have those final figures, the title company and us will be sending a copy of the closing disclosure. Title company will send a copy of the ALTA statement for the borrower to wire those funds. We do not send out wiring instructions as a lender. We always recommend that they contact the title company for those instructions. All right, then it's the close date. Buyer will be signing the package and is now officially a homeowner. So this is the kind of the timeline, expected timeline of AmeriFirst. So 28 to 48 hours for the pre-approval. And when I say 28 to 48 hours, we will contact your client when you send it to them the same day. No matter what time it is, we will give them a call. As fast as they will work with us, we'll work with them. So if they can send us those documents, we will review them within 24 hours, if not sooner. to make sure that they are fully pre-approved. Then you get the contracts, EMD gets delivered to title, order the inspections. Please make sure to order those 4 points. I've been having a lot of hiccups on ones that don't order it right away. And we then have to go back to the inspector to ask them to order it when the insurance companies are all requiring it. The appraisals, like I said, takes about 5 to 10 business days. The initial underwriting is about 5 to 7 business days. And that's only because we are going to just keep collecting more documents to make sure that it's going to be the smoothest submission to underwriting as possible. We're going to collect conditions, and about 1 or 2 business days later, we'll be clear to close. So our average closing turn times right now are around 21 to 30 days. We can close sooner than that on rush instances, but I say we're usually between 21 to 25 days on our closing turn times. So we would love the chance to raise your expectations of what the lender experience should be. And I genuinely mean that. We would love a shot to be able to assist you guys and make you better realtors for your clients. We would love that opportunity. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to give it to Juan Escobar, who's now going to talk about those underwriting hiccups and the things you need to have and coach your buyers to watch out for. I appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you, Coop. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. I know we haven't had you guys here at the office. I know that COVID is spiking up again, but we're definitely excited to have you guys here again as soon as you guys are able to. My name is Juan Escobar, for anybody that doesn't know. I've been doing this for a little bit over a year now, but been in the business for 6+ years. I have multiple investment properties and been working with Coop as my lender for years. I think I was one of the first loans that on the Southeast here for AmeriFirst. So let me share my screen. All right, so what I'm going to talk to you guys about is things that we can avoid to in regards to underwriting hiccups. So what is underwriting? That's going to be the first thing. Essentially, an underwriter is one of the most important pieces to the puzzle on a loan. That's when the lender is going to verify income, credit, assets, debts, liabilities, and property details in order to ensure a final loan approval. That's very important. They're going to look at the appraisal. They're going to look at all the income to make sure that the income that we stated on the loan application is indeed, what actually they're making. Their credits and debts, they're going to go over the overall credit profile, review things like, why is there late payments, collections, if there's bankruptcies, if maybe they have too much credit usage and not enough credit limit. Making sure that the funds that they have are sufficient to get to the closing table and that the funds are from an acceptable source. You have to make sure if there's a gift, and depending on the program, that it's coming from somebody that's, a family member or somebody who's an acceptable source. And the property, making sure that the property and the appraisal meets satisfactory guidelines. For every appraisal here at AmeriFirst, we have an appraisal review team. That's going to make sure that the appraisal is going to be able to be used for lending purposes. Sometimes not every appraisal is necessarily a good appraisal. There's a lot of issues with appraisals not coming in at value or coming in too much over value. That is a thing. So we want to make sure that we are accurate in what we're doing the loan for, to not only protect us as a company, but protect the borrower. That's very important for us. So how long does underwriting take? From the last slide, we thought it could take maybe 5 to 10 days, depending on the submission, the timeline, but it's going to be based on an individual case-by-case basis. Each loan is a unique story. Every person's situation is completely different. Sometimes a clean file may seem like a clean file, but something may come up on an underwriting. You never know. So we try to do our due diligence up front to make sure that everything we do submit is as clean as possible. Do the homework up front, collecting as much documentation to present to the underwriting team ahead of time. And this is something that you guys can state to the buyers is the sooner that the buyer provides us with the documentations requested by us, the smoother the process is going to go throughout the entire transaction. Anything that we request, it's not solely for us just requesting it because we want to. It's because we need that to get you guys to the closing table as soon as possible. So when you're working with a partner, having that communication between the realtor and the lender, and then the realtor and the buyer is huge. It's really huge and can make a difference between getting to that closing table in 20 days or just pushing that limit and closing in 30 days. So Coop spoke about this a little bit earlier. What kind of documentation is needed from the borrower? Like I mentioned, every borrower can be different, but most of the documentations are going to be relatively the same for most files. For W-2 workers, you're going to need W-2 for the past 2 years, potentially tax returns if they have rental income or if they are indeed self-employed, last 30 days of pay stubs, bank statements for the last 2 months, copy of their driver's license. If they're permanent residents, we'll need a copy of the permanent resident card. If they're not permanent resident, we'll need an EAD card. If they own homes, you need mortgage statements, tax statements, insurance statements, etc. And for self-employed borrowers, which I want you guys to keep in mind, those are going to be our most complicated files because it requires a lot more income calculation. It requires a lot more documentation. For them specifically, you will need personal and business tax returns for the past 2 years. You're going to need a year-to-date profit and loss statement. You're going to need 3 months of business bank statements. And that's all stuff that we have to verify, review, because those are tough. Self-employed borrowers are tough, but we are trained to make sure we can do this. So you guys will have no issues when it comes to the closing table. The income is going to be correct. And we even have a deal desk person here for any self-employed borrower that we can guarantee the income before we submit it to the underwriting, meaning that the income is verified, and we can do that even before getting a contract, that there's not going to be any issues when it comes to income. And that's huge. All right, so I think this is what we all came here to talk about. This is the 10 tips to avoid for underwriting hiccups. And this is definitely some things for you guys and some things for the borrowers as well that you guys can mention to them. Do not apply for any new credit lines during the mortgage process. Now, shopping mortgages, that's fine, but you don't want to get into a new car. You don't want to have any furniture. You don't want to get any new credit lines because all of that could potentially, if for some reason we need to repo credit, could affect the credit score, could affect your monthly liabilities, could be the difference between you being approved and not being approved. So it's very, very important. That's why I put that as the #1 tip. Tip #2, make sure you continue to make all payments on time. Even if a refinance is happening, make sure you don't stop paying your mortgage. Even if your loan officer tells you, even though I have that here, continue to make your payments. Don't ever stop. If for some reason you make an extra payment, you will get that money back. Very, very important to make sure we stress that. Another tip that I had mentioned in the past. So respond to any request for documentation as soon as possible. It's very important. Again, the faster you guys turn around on getting us the documentation we request at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end, it's going to allow us to get you guys to the closing table as soon as possible, which at the end of the day, we all don't get paid until the loan closes. So we want to get this thing there as soon as possible. This may seem kind of silly to have to state, but tip #4, make sure that the documentation is provided as clean and clear as possible. Pictures don't work. Everything should be marked, PDFs, clearly legible. You guys don't understand how many times we get documentations that are black. You can't see anything, or half pages, or 1 page out of 5 pages that we get. It's very important we get everything as clear as possible. That way we don't have to wait for the underwriter to come back and tell us, okay, we need another copy of this, because then that's going to mean they're going to have to go back and go into the file again. And we want to submit this file once for the initial underwriting, twice for the clear to close, and be done. That way we can, again, the end goal is get these buyers there as soon as possible. Another very important tip, we want to be really honest. We want to make sure the borrowers are telling us exactly like it is. If you had a bankruptcy, tell us. If you have child support, tell us. All of these things will be found. They will be found. Don't hide anything. It's very important because the only person that you're hurting is yourself. And then You don't want to waste anybody's time throughout their transaction. You guys want to make sure they understand, look, you're not going to get away with, hiding anything. It just doesn't work. This is the underwriter's job, is to make sure that they find the entire story on that file. So large deposits are very important. You want to make sure that you don't have cash deposits, or that you're transferring money from one account to another without having a trail or a way to be sourced. Transfers like Zelle, Cash App, Venmo are very tough to get sourced. So a lot of those deposits, or very large deposits like that, we definitely try to explain to avoid those as much as possible. And for anything that does need to be done that way, you just need to have proof. You need to have proof, and you need to have proof. We need to be able to prove where this money came from, where what it is, why is it, so that the underwriter can have a clear explanation. And we should know those things up front, because we'll be able to see those in the bank statements when we review them. Number 7.
Juan, quick question.
Go ahead.
What's the definition of a large deposit? How much?
A large deposit is going to depend on the program, but it could be 50% of the qualifying income, or it could be 1% of the purchase price of a home. That's for FHA. So let's say a borrower makes $5,000 a month. That's his qualifying income. If any large deposit over $2,500, we need to source where that came from. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries. This is something that really, should be something that we tell everybody up front. And we do when we have that conversation is, don't switch jobs in between applications. You're applying based on the income that you're making. So switching jobs in between, and specifically, okay, sometimes things happen. Tell your loan officers up front. That way we know that that's coming. We get a job offer letter. We know that we can explain to the underwriter, okay, this is happening. We're going to get a pay stub, a week before closing. We can get it done, but just don't switch jobs and all of a sudden don't tell us anything about it. That could put you in a really bad situation. Maybe you were using overtime. Maybe you were using commission. Maybe you were using bonus income that now we may not be able to use because you're switching your job, and that could put you out of being able to qualify for the house. Tip number 8, don't co-sign for any loans. Again, same kind of issue. That could potentially put you out of being able to qualify. Maybe you are a first-time home buyer using a program that requires first-time home buyers, and now you're being a co-signer for a loan. That could potentially hurt you. Same thing is income calculations may get ruined if you all of a sudden your debt to income is too high for you to be able to qualify, because you now are responsible for another loan. Very important. That is very important. Tip number 9, avoid online national lenders. For purchases, who you work with in this market makes a huge difference. It really does. Having somebody that is going to be able to communicate with the realtor throughout the transaction, it's very important. You guys want to be able to know what's going on. You want to be able to reach to your lender and say, look, where we are in the process. Have you guys ordered the appraisal? When can we expect this, and that? Those companies like Quicken, Better.com, Lower.com, Navy Federal, all of those are really bad in regards to communication, making sure that your file was pre-approved correctly, and that you're not going to be wasting your time showing houses to somebody that, when it comes down to it, they really should never have been pre-approved. We do our due diligence, and our goal here is to make sure you guys can grow your business by efficiently using your time with the borrowers. And that doesn't mean we don't want to help all borrowers. That just means we want to make sure that these borrowers are going to be approved, if not maybe now, maybe in 2 months, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year. And finally, I know you guys have a lot of Spanish agents. It's very important to try to help those borrowers that speak another language, try to get documentation to us in English. I know that we are working in ways that we can underwrite files in Spanish, but we still do need to work in English right now, and any documentation that is in any other language, we will have to get translated. It does have to be reviewed, and it's just going to take a little bit longer if it's in any other language. And to smooth out the process and make it simpler, anything and everything in English would be substantially better. And then an extra tip for everybody: have patience. It's a lot of money on the line when it comes down to a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 loan. So it does take some time. Sometimes getting a loan is not supposed to be easy. That's what happened in 2008, where anybody with a pulse could get a loan, and where that ended up. So regulations were put in place to make sure that people had the ability to repay. That way, we put people in a good situation, and we, just putting people in a good situation where they're going to be able to afford their mortgage. They're not going to have to go into bankruptcy or foreclosure in the future is very important to us. So it definitely takes time. That's all I have for you guys today. If you guys have any other questions, if you guys ever wanted some advice, anything, Cooper and I are there available for you guys no matter what. Our cell phone numbers are on the first slide that Cooper sent out. And then let us know if you guys have any questions.
Anybody have on the call have questions for either Cooper or Juan?
I think you asked mine, Lee. I've held private mortgages, and I've always required cash or money order payments. And one of my guys during COVID switched to paying me through Cash App. And so I was curious about the value, what the amount that mattered was. I think that's going to become more and more a thing for a lot of payments.
I'm sorry. Are you asking if what the threshold should be for large deposits?
Yeah, I was just, I think Lee covered it in his question. I wasn't sure, the payments I get monthly from this guy via Cash App, how that would impact, not that I'm looking to buy a home, but just was curious about that, what that dollar amount threshold was going to be, what you have to prove, why you're getting it, and so forth. So
that's going to depend on your income, right? Your qualifying
right.
income. But if you have proof and a history to show that, all right, you have a lease in place, let's say it's for $1,500 a month, and you get this payment every month, and you're able to prove that, we're able to request maybe additional documentation to show that to the underwriter where this money is coming from.
Right. That's good. Thank you.
So it's really just going to depend up to your income, but also just as far as cash in your bank account, we're able to prove that through your tax returns, through your Schedule E, to show what you're actually making on that rental property for qualifying purposes.
Anybody else have any questions before we lose our guests?
Yeah, any scenarios you guys are currently going through that you may be questioning, or anything you have? Happy to help.
Something else too that we're very good at here. So I want you guys to definitely keep in mind is we save a lot of deals here. All of those lenders that I wrote earlier, there's a lot of issues. So if you guys ever need us to save a deal, or somebody's not communicating and you guys have 2-3 weeks before closing, that's what Cooper mentioned, that we could get something closed in 15 days if we need to, if it's a rush file, and we can get them approved. If you guys need that, we're always there for you. We want to be your guys' partners to help you guys grow and save deals when they need to be saved.
So one thing too that kind of separates us that I didn't touch on is we are actually a direct mortgage bank. So we do service all of our own loans. So whenever your clients make our closing loans, they're actually going to be still paying AmeriFirst their mortgage every single month. So we are with them the entire life of the loan. Our name, our number, our picture is on every single mortgage statement. So if they have any questions whatsoever, they are always able to give us a call, and we can go and contact our servicing department. So, somebody may have slipped up on a payment and they have to pay that small little late fee. We can usually contact them directly to get them to drop that. So it's a very, very big benefit. It also puts them in our portfolio loan program. So if rates were to ever drop again, they get an extreme discount on refinancing. So it just puts your clients in a really good situation to know that they're backed by a decent sized mortgage company, especially one that services all of our loans. It is a big benefit to us to be able to do that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Are your offices back open, or are you still?
Yes, we are back. They told us that we're allowed to have you guys back at the office. I was gonna have a call with Ben a little bit later with Ben and Lee a little bit later this week to discuss having you guys back here. We're really, really looking forward to it. We love having you guys here and taking advantage of that space for sure.
For those of you who haven't been in that space, the space is incredible. It's such a nice facility.
Appreciate that.
And you guys are more than welcome too, if you guys wanted to just work outside the office for a couple of days a week. And we have designated area for you guys to just come work out of. If you have maybe a closing here in Winter Park and you wanted a place to go work at for the day, just reach out to us. Happy to have you guys here. The more the merrier.
And even if you have a closing that's not with us and you want to have your clients close somewhere that the title company may be, in Naples or something, we see that a lot. You can have a mobile notary scheduled to come close in our office and give them the closing experience that they usually would being inside of an office. We're more than happy to help with that. That's something that's always on the table for you.
When we start our kitchen remodel project, I may take up space in your office on a daily basis for a little while.
That's totally cool.
Well, awesome.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you both very much. And for everybody on the call, both Juan and Cooper are in Follow Up Boss. So their contact information is never very far away. Feel free to reach out to them with any questions that they may have. Thank you both very, very much for taking a part of your day to come in and talk to us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Right. Thank you guys. Have a great one.
All right, for team members, I'm sure that you got Ben's email earlier today. In-person workday today is actually going to be held via Zoom. That will be from 12:30 to 3:30. He emailed the itinerary for the day and what you can expect us to be covering. There was that. There was something else. One thing I would like you to spend the next few hours thinking about, because I'm going to be asking you again during the in-person workday, and that is, in addition, so kind of reflecting on what we just went through with Cooper and Juan, what else do you want to hear about? What kind of experts in the field do you want to hear from? What have you not heard that you want to? What have we missed? Give me ideas, because we have, between the database that we have in Follow Up Boss, and Ben has like 9 million contacts through his relationship with BNI. I guarantee we can find somebody. So think about that. Let me know. You can shoot me a message on Slack. You can text me. You can call me, or we can just discuss it later on at in-person workdays. So either way, I want to hear from you, because I want these huddles to be beneficial for you, not just a place where you come hang out for 45 minutes a day.
I have a favor to ask.
I didn't ask anything about favors, Kelly.
I'm asking anyway.
Yes.
You do not deter me.
Nor should I.
I think it was last week that we went on a thing about what to do on final walkthroughs, and you and Jose put some really good stuff out there, and I think Jose dropped a bunch into Slack. Can you put that in a list that
I already have. It is on it is on Ben's virtual desk. I'm just waiting for him to read through it and see if there are any edits he wants to make. But yeah, it has already been put into a very nice little checklist with both pre walkthrough, during walkthrough, and post walkthrough steps. So it's coming.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Sure. Perfect. Well, I will see you all in a few hours, giving you back 4 minutes of your day. So go and make those 4 minutes productive, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Lee.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.